Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth. I am a 37-year-old attorney living in the DC area with my husband. And for today's video, I have another concealer review. So if you missed it, I did review the new Too Faced, what is it called? Ethereal Light Concealer last week. And I try not to kind of group videos that are too similar next to each other, but Sephora did launch a new concealer, so I wanted to try it out for you guys. So this is the Best Skin Ever Full Coverage Multi-Use Concealer. And just a quick note on buying this product. I actually went into store yesterday, my local Sephora, because it was showing up as in stock online. But when I actually went to the store, they didn't have it out yet. So they said, oh, it's in the back, and they didn't offer to let me purchase it. So I ended up purchasing it through same-day delivery, which I think is a free service for Rouge members. You can see I have my receipt stapled to the back here. So that could be an option if you are eager to get your hands on it sooner rather than later. As I said, this did just launch, but Sephora conveniently has a sale going on their products. I think the sale will be over by the time this video goes live. But I was able to get 20% off of the concealers. And they're already not that expensive. They're $15 each, which is not a bad price for a concealer stocked at Sephora. But if you did miss out on the sale, Sephora does put their products on sale relatively frequently throughout the year. And I think during the VIB sale period, the Sephora collection items usually go on sale for 30% off, regardless of your tier. So if this concealer has your attention, maybe just keep it on your wish list until the Sephora VIB sale. So Sephora did come out with this product because they have their Best Skin Ever foundation, which I'm guessing is doing pretty well for them. Another quick tip, I don't own the Best Skin Ever foundation, but if you go into store, they will probably have free samples that you can pick up. These are already pre-made, and I think they have one for every shade. So if you just wanted to try it out, you can try out the shades that way. The sales associate did kind of swatch this shade, which is 11.5p on my hand, just to kind of see if it would probably be a good match. This is the shade that Sephora, I think, recommended if I put in, I think, the Makeup Forever Reboot foundation in R208. So I decided to try this one out. And the shades of this new concealer are supposed to kind of match the foundation shades. So I did purchase 11.5p in the concealer. So we'll see how those look together. And then I did also purchase the, I think, lightest shade, which is 0.3p. And this is for fair skin with pink undertones. The shades, by the way, they come in 45, if my math is correct. So I got the two lightest shades with pink undertones. So it looks like after 3p, which I'm guessing is the same as 03p, there's 4N, which is neutral, 8Y, which I think is yellow, and then there's 10N, which is 10 neutral. So there are 3 shades in between these that have either neutral or yellow undertones. And just going off the picture, the neutral shades still looked a little yellow maybe. So we'll see how we do with these two shades anyway. Okay, so let's talk about the claims and what this concealer is supposed to do. So it's the Best Skin Ever Full Coverage Multi-Use Concealer. You do get 9 ml or 0.30 fluid ounce in this product. And for the highlights, is vegan, liquid formula. It's supposed to have a full coverage and natural finish. And this is a clean at Sephora product. So it says it is a full coverage liquid concealer to instantly cover, conceal, and correct all over the face with a natural finish. The highlighted ingredients, it has hyaluronic acid to hydrate, and I've said recently that with hyaluronic acid, it's a molecule that pulls water to it, so you just want to make sure that if you're in an exceptionally dry environment, it might work against you because it might be pulling moisture from your skin. So just something to be aware of in terms of how hydrated your skin already is and the environment. It also has algae extract to protect skin from daily pollution, which I thought was interesting because I think Algae is a skincare ingredient that you're starting to see a little bit more. I think the Algenist eye creams use algae as their kind of star ingredient. So it is a vegan product, and it says this weightless, long-wearing formula instantly evens out the appearance of skin without caking or drying. Enriched with algae extract and hyaluronic acid, the skin-enhancing concealer provides anti-pollution effects and up to 12-hour hydration. It's also without ingredients from animal origin. It looks like the first few ingredients are water, iron oxides, dimethicone, and isododecane. So it does have silicones. Looks like it's water-based, and isododecane is the ingredient that they put in like liquid lipsticks to help things kind of smooth out over the skin. So a note on the 12-hour claim. We're coming up on 1 o'clock here, so I think conservatively maybe like a 9, possibly 10-hour wear test is what I'm planning. And I think like I did last time, I might try to set one eye and leave one eye unset. So as far as application, it just says apply concealer anywhere on the face where coverage is needed. Effortlessly blend out with fingers, brush, or sponge to even out skin tone and enhance complexion. And they do suggest that you can use a darker shade for contouring, and you can apply that along the cheeks and jawline. So I'm not sure how this shade is going to look on me, so that's going to be an interesting test here. And obviously they suggest using it with the Best Skin Ever foundation and their powder. All right, so that's all the information I think on the website. Just a quick word on the packaging. It's a bit of a chunkier tube, I would say. This, for example, is the Kosas. So a little bit bigger than that, a little taller as well. And that's like the NARS Radiant Concealer. Nothing that's like too obnoxious, it's just something I kind of noted. And as far as the packaging, it doesn't come in any sort of outer box like a lot of Sephora products. This one, instead of being shrink wrapped, it just has like a sticker across it. So I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and carefully just kind of push it in along the seam. That's one kind of downside of, I guess, less expensive products generally, whether they are Sephora or at the drugstore, is that sometimes you have to deal with like the adhesive that's left over on products, which is just not my favorite. All right, a little bit of lip oil to keep things hydrated. Okay, and it does have the shade on the bottom, so if you did want to just pull off the sticker, that wouldn't be an issue. It looks like it is made in Canada, and it has a 12-month shelf life. And it's funny that they have a lot of writing on the tube here, because obviously they don't have a box to print it on, so there's a lot more on the actual tube. Okay, so it's a pretty sizable doe foot, I would say. I just grabbed the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer just for comparison. And this honestly is about the exact same size. It looks like the component is a little bit different because you can see a little bit of the plastic still at the bottom, but just for comparison, the cap might be slightly bigger. I don't know if you actually care about that kind of minutia. I will have timestamps down below, I should have mentioned. So if you want to skip ahead to any portion. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if they actually intended this to be a like Shape Tape dupe. So I'd say you're looking at about the same doe foot as the Shape Tape. And this shade, by the way, was Fair Beige. I don't know if they still make this shade because I know they kind of redid their shades. Okay, so let's go ahead and swatch 11.5p. I hope this isn't a situation where I will have to kind of mix shades. So underneath my eyes, I'm thinking this 03p is actually gonna be better. I'm just trying to mix them a little bit. Maybe I'll just go ahead and mix them. It's funny because I was testing out, I don't know if it was like the Hourglass foundation or some other product, but my husband was saying something like, why is it so hard to get your right shade? And I'm just like, that is the eternal question for everyone, I think. Okay, so my skincare is done. I'm going to go ahead and use my corrector because I usually go ahead and use one anyway. This is the Charlotte Tilbury corrector. I have a Sephora collection eyeshadow I want to use, which I'm a little worried may cause fallout. So I was actually thinking about using some like under eye patches, but I guess I want to kind of try out like an average hydration level underneath the eyes without, you know, any kind of heroic measures. This being a full coverage product, I think this is something I would more likely reach for kind of doing a kind of full face rather than like an everyday basis. For something a lot lighter weight, I would go for the Too Faced. So let's go ahead and see what this shade looks like. She gave me 2 packets, which was nice of her. Hopefully that'll be enough. Not this little bit, but the packets. Okay, so this is 11.5p. I'm a little confused here. Doesn't the concealer look darker? Okay. All right, so the next step in my routine is to apply foundation, and this isn't a test of the foundation per se, but I just wanted to kind of see what the companion product is like. It's a medium coverage natural finish, so the foundation is medium coverage and the concealer is full coverage, which is kind of interesting. It looks like it kind of darkens or oxidizes a little bit. All right, so we'll kind of see how this does with a brush. This is the Expert Face brush. I think this will be okay. I asked her if she thought, the sales associate at Sephora, if she thought this was my shade. She didn't seem inclined to be very helpful though. I mean, just by virtue of kind of what skin is exposed, I think my neck is lighter. I know a lot of people kind of have the reverse problem. If they self-tan, their face tends to be lighter, but interesting. I do have the Tula sunscreen applied underneath. So I think that went on pretty nicely with the brush. And that was, I don't think the entirety of this packet. I did wet my beauty blender as well just to see. So I'm still getting product out. I assume this is meant for like a single use. So this is 0.8 ml or 0.02 fluid ounce. Very confused by the shades there. I don't know if the idea is that if it's kind of multi-use, if you wanted to use it on the face, since it has more pigment, it's fuller coverage, that it looks darker until it's blended. So far the skin looks nice though. Okay, so I'm just going to, I guess, stay with that. And honestly, I think the coverage level on both sides is about the same. And the brush kind of spread out the product very well. Not every foundation kind of plays well with a brush, so I'm kind of impressed by that. Okay, so going on to the main event. So I'm gonna try this first. This is the 11.5p, and I have this little red spot here, which I think is some kind of like rosacea mark or something, so see how it does. Go ahead and take care of any other red bits. Okay, so that was just my finger. That's how I often like to kind of blend in concealer. Yeah, and maybe that foundation is just oxidizing now. Like, it's so strange. So maybe this concealer shade is kind of the same as the like oxidized foundation. Okay, so since they do say that this is a multi-use, I'm just going to kind of see what happens when I apply maybe a larger area. I know some people just like to kind of use their concealer as their like base product. Again, I think it blended out with the brush well. And this is the sponge. I'm using the same side that I would use for the foundation. I just want to swatch this. I'm running out of arm space. Yeah, so that's the Kosas foundation. And that still, I think, is leaning a little bit more yellow. I think that looks more peachy. All right, we'll see what happens when I put the lighter shade underneath my eyes. I'm glad I got a sample of that foundation though, because I'm just not convinced that the shade is perfect. Okay. All right, so let's go in with the other shade, 0.3P. So this definitely looks a lot whiter. In fact, let's just go ahead and I have this freckle, which I don't mind, but I'm curious kind of how it looks. Maybe a bit light. I think now the freckle just looks a little gray. I remember Jackie Ina always used to swatch things on her chest like that. Okay, so let's go in with 03P. So I've seen a lot of people now, I guess the new thing is to kind of come down and do like an F, which is going over that other, dipping again for the other side, that little red mark I concealed, and that might be too much. All right, so this is the Angie A506. I should have done a before and after. I always forget to do that. So I guess I'll insert a photo. And then going in on the other side. And I don't think I said it already, but I do have dry skin. I think placing some of that lighter shade in the middle of the face did kind of help to make the match look a little bit better. So the foundation is, I think, 20. And like I said, you can probably get 30% off at some point, whereas the concealers are 15. Yeah, so I think you definitely can use it that way. It's starting to feel maybe a little heavy on the face, which is, you know, to be expected maybe. I am getting some creases right underneath the lash line, which is also pretty common for me. Yeah, I'd say it looks pretty good. So let me zoom in here. Okay, so hopefully you can see kind of the level of coverage. You can see these diagonal creases under this eye as well, right there. And as far as the overall coverage level, I think touched my face, so some of it might have kind of come off. Yeah, I'd say, you know, generally my complexion, like you can still see freckles and everything. So I'd say the foundation definitely isn't full coverage, but in areas where I have put the concealer, it looks like there's a little bit more coverage. Like I think I can still see some like freckles kind of peeking through underneath the eyes. I think this definitely needs powder though. All right, so I am going to do my contour and brows and everything, and then I'll pop back on for the powder step.
It's the curse of losing real love when your heart is young. You think your best days are behind you before they've begun. And then somebody new decides to come along. He could be everything you wanted, but it still feels wrong. It's not that I don't wanna let him in. It's just my heart is not my own to give. He's got the same brown eyes, that devastating smile. Yeah, he's got something, but he's nothing like you.
Okay, so for the powder underneath the eyes, I think I might go with the Laura Mercier Translucent and this e.l.f. brush that I think they discontinued, which is unfortunate. I think this time I'm gonna put the powder underneath my right eye. Which I think helps set it without it looking dry. Okay. And for the rest of my face, I'm going to go in with, I think, my LYS powder and this brush. I have a feeling I'm still gonna look pretty shiny by the end of the night. I'm gonna be going grocery shopping, so doing a little bit more than just sitting on the couch or whatever, but most of it will be in air conditioning. I did turn the air conditioning off before I started filming, and it is like mid-August in the DC area. So it feels a little warm in here, but fortunately the heat has come down just a tad in the recent days. So one thing I've said before that I like to do is I'll take, you can just take your setting powder or whatever you want, and I have this Sonia G Flat Definer brush, and I'll do this on both eyes, but really trying to hug that lower lash line. I'll try to put some powder, kind of make sure all those creases are gone. So I'm not going to powder below this, but just to have what I think of as like the starting point of the wrinkles kind of powdered, I think helps. And because it's underneath your lower lashes, it doesn't like read as being powdered, at least in my opinion. So I have this shadow from Sephora, which is maybe a little bit more than I would kind of typically go for the grocery store, but I think I can kind of blend that out so it's not quite as impactful maybe. I'm just gonna start off by, I applied that Fenty eye primer, which is pretty set, and then again, just using a loose powder, dust that over the eyelids. Sometimes I do this with like a cream or off-white shadow. I think I want to start by putting something in the crease. All right, so I think I might use that shade from the Midsummer palette from Viseart. I have a, I think, collection video of my Viseart shadows where I talk about how I kind of set up this palette. And then using my Sonia G Flat Definer, that same shade. Probably could have gone the lighter shade here, but that's all right. Viseart is currently having a sale as well. I'm not sure exactly when it ends, they haven't said, but if there were any palettes, I think I purchased the Cashmere palette and some other things. So going into this cream shade with this Sonia G, with this jumbo blender, and just kind of, like I said, using this kind of almost as like an eraser or some kind of blurring tool over the edges. My husband put the kettle on, if you can hear that. Okay, and then for the Sephora shadow. This is in Shooting Star, and using my Shikuhodo GSN 9. I think this shade is still, yeah, I'm getting fallout. Still on sale. So if you wanted to pick it up, I think it was marked down even without the 20% off or whatever. So that's pretty. Usually I'm trying to build up a shade, but like I said, I'm just going to Wegmans, so I want to keep it a little bit lighter. I did want to try this shade out though, because it's really pretty. Probably benefit from a wet brush or some kind of glitter glue, although it's not bad. So while I'm deciding whether I want to use eyeliner, I'm just going to use some bronzer and blush. Again, kind of add some life and dimension back to the face. And then I think I might use this Mood Exposure blush from Hourglass. It's kind of mauvey one. Like going full on into fall here. Okay, so I think I'm just going to go without eyeliner. I do have a sample of one of their mascaras and a couple of their lip pencils, so we'll try that out. I think for the lower lash line, I'm still going to use my Clinique Bottom Lash because this is a tubing formula that won't, shouldn't smudge or anything, especially on the unset concealer side. If you do find that your mascara tends to smudge and give you raccoon eyes, you might want to think about setting your under eyes, because if there's any residual moisture underneath the eyes and it comes in contact with the mascara, that can cause it to kind of break down the mascara and show up underneath your eyes. So I am going to use the Sephora Lashcraft Big Volume Mascara. Typically I go for a waterproof formula, mostly because I have very straight lashes, but I wanted to use a few different Sephora Collection products. And I am curling my lashes with my Surratt lash curler. So this has an Hourglass wand, but it's a little bit on the skinnier side. It's a slightly drier formula. I don't know if that's because I've had this sample for a while. I haven't used it, but so far the lift is pretty good. I think drier formulas do also help to hold a curl, especially if you put one in with a lash curler. Kind of the same way that if you curl your hair and then wet it, the curl will fall out. It's not bad. So it is volumizing and maybe slightly lengthening. Looks like there's just a couple. If you want a really defined lash, this probably won't be your favorite. Okay, and then where did those lip pencils go? So I have the shades, what is this? Pale beige and pink beige. I might go with pale beige. And this does have the shrink wrap on it. These were, I think, $6 a piece. It's a wooden pencil, I think, so it's not the same formula as their like gel liners, but I like the colors of these better. So yeah, standard kind of pencil. I almost have this like ring around my lips of where I don't have foundation. So my lips were pretty hydrated, like you saw. I'll just quickly swatch these for you. But they do say that you can use this to fill in the lips, and I thought they were creamy enough to be able to do that. So this one is pink beige. Not too different really. So as far as my initial thoughts go, I mean, this is definitely more of a full coverage product. I think I made the shades work for me, but I think I almost kind of took a combination of them to work. And of course, you know, I had the contour that I kind of pulled down to my neck and that kind of thing, which helps. So far I think it looks pretty good for a full coverage concealer. We'll see how things hold up over time. And it might just be a matter of preference whether this is the type of coverage that you like. All right, so that is gonna do it. It is now about 1:36. So like I said, I should be able to maybe get in like a 9-hour wear test, possibly 10. So I am off to Wegmans and I will check in with you guys later in the day. All right, it is the end of the night. It's a little past 11:30 and I think that puts us at, I want to say around 10 hours. So as usual, I seem to have kind of overshot what I had promised. So as you can see, I am a little shiny on the T-zone. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit more powder down. I'd say in general, I am pretty impressed with how the foundation wore. I was kind of leaning my face against my husband on the couch watching TV earlier, so I think I might have lost some of the coverage on this cheek, but generally I'm pretty happy with how the foundation wore. Like I said, it did feel a little bit heavy as I was first applying it, but I think it kind of settled in. So let's go ahead and zoom in to talk about the concealer. So this was the powdered side and this was the non-powdered side. And I think it's pretty obvious that the powdered side wore better. So you can see definite creasing on this side, and it's doing the thing where it's kind of gathering a little bit in the crease. So you can see kind of where it's gathered and then also kind of where it's missing. So I would say I definitely recommend powdering. I don't think I really experienced any issues with my mascara smudging. Maybe a tad bit under this eye. It seems to be showing up a little bit more on camera than I see in sort of real life. Yeah, that is how things are looking at the 10-hour mark. So the bottom line that you probably care about is, would I recommend this concealer? So kind of shade issues notwithstanding, I think if you do want a higher coverage concealer, I think for the price I would maybe recommend checking it out. As you can see with the wear, I think setting it is definitely the way to go. It is definitely going to be sort of a thicker consistency compared to some concealers. I did remember that I wanted to swatch it next to the Gel Serum Concealer I have the shade Meringue. So I think they have kind of reformulated this, or repackaged it, I guess. So the doe foot is a little bit different, but this is the shade Meringue. So that is that. And then this is the shade 03P. So much lighter. And then finally the shade 11.5P. So the shade Meringue is kind of, I think, a mix almost between those two shades of this concealer. All right, so there I tried to kind of mix the two. Maybe it's still a little bit lighter than the Meringue shade, a little bit more neutral. I feel like in general, getting your right shade in a foundation and concealer is a challenge, even if you go in a store like I did and try to get some kind of swatch to figure out what you are. So on that note, having a less expensive concealer is a benefit, because if you do need to kind of mix a few or just, you know, trial and error, it's not as expensive as it could be. Not that that's kind of the ideal situation, but anyway. So I guess my bottom line is this isn't my kind of preferred formula or consistency in a concealer, especially for every day. If you want something that's similar to the Tarte Shape Tape and is probably like half the price. I don't know how much Shape Tape retails for these days, but especially if you get the Sephora concealer for 20 or 30% off, that would put it, I think, under $12 if I'm doing my math correctly. So that's probably about half the price of the Tarte Shape Tape. So I did look up the price of the Shape Tape concealer from Tarte while editing, and it is indeed twice the price of the Sephora Collection concealer. And it appears that Ulta is the only retailer other than Tarte that actually carries it. So if you look at the very tiny writing underneath the name of the product, it says only here. So that to me lends additional support to the idea that Sephora wanted to introduce a product of its own that could compete or serve as a replacement for the Tarte Shape Tape concealer. I think they have similar claims, full coverage, etc. So it does make sense to me that Sephora wished to kind of dupe the Tarte Shape Tape, especially when the Tarte Shape Tape is, I think, one of the best-selling concealers in the US, and on that basis, Tarte claims that it is America's #1 concealer brand. If you'd like to see me do kind of a dedicated comparison video between the Sephora Collection concealer and the Tarte Shape Tape, just let me know in the comments down below. So like I said at the beginning, for a concealer that is sold at Sephora, that is a pretty darn good price. So I wouldn't say it's perfect by any means, but hopefully I gave you some of the pros and the cons. So if you are interested in this type of formula, you may wish to check it out. So anyway, so I think that is going to do it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you haven't already, please do subscribe down below. And until next time, I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.